Hello everyone. So in the previous lecture, that is Unit 1, we introduced you to the concept of tribal development. And now let's move on to the problems in tribal development. The objective of today's lecture is to understand the various approaches to tribal problem, to familiarize ourselves with the history of tribal welfare in the pre-independent and post-independent era, to develop an understanding of socio-political and economic issues prevalent in the tribal community, to develop an understanding of issues faced by tribal women and children prevalent in the tribal community. So let's begin with the first topic, that is the approaches to tribal development. Do you have any idea as to how many approaches are there? Let's find it out. Though the problems of tribal had attracted the attention of country's politicians, policymakers and social workers much before independence, the builders of modern India took the task of development of tribal people and their integration in the mainstream of Indian society as one of the problems of nation building. The different approaches of tribal people in India can be classified into mainly three categories, namely isolation approach, assimilation approach, and integration approach. So let's begin with the isolation approach. What was it about? Do you know what is isolation approach? So, during the British rule in the pre-independence period, most of the tribal communities in India remained isolated from the mainstream of national life. They were confined to their habitat. They did not used to mingle with other parts of the countries. The tribal areas were kept secluded and cut off from the rest of the people. The policy of the British government was solely directed and dominated by colonial interest and based on isolation and exploitation of the tribals. The next comes the assimilation approach. What was it about? Let's find out. Assimilation involves their ultimate incorporation into the mainstream of society. Many leaders believed the tribal problem like poverty, illiteracy, lack of communication, ill health, defects in administration, and lack of leadership can only be eliminated if they are adjusted in the mainstream population. So some tribals did gradually accept the Hindu way of life, and others also willingly converted to Christianity. What do you think? Is this the right thing to do? The next comes the integration, which means making them an integral part of the Indian nation, even while maintaining their distinct identity and culture. This sounds pretty good. The tribal should develop along the line of their own genius. There should be no imposition or compulsion from outside. Tribal rights in lands and forests should be respected. No outsiders should be able to take possessions of tribal lands. To encourage the tribal languages. For administration, reliance should be placed on the tribal people themselves. Administrators should be recruited from amongst them and trained. The efforts should be to administer and develop the tribal through their own social and cultural institutions. So, I introduced you to three different approaches towards tribal development. So, according to me, isolation and assimilation are two extreme paths, and integration is the midway. So, what according to you should be the best approach towards tribal people? I would request you all to have a healthy discussion with your peers in class about the different approaches. Do you know what approach does India follow towards tribal development? Find it out. And next, we will see a video about constitution, role of constitution in tribal building. What does a constitution have for tribal development? Thank you.